So then we are back with more understandings from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, where we find in the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Tzayelic lineage. So then we can understand the time of the end. As per Yeshayahu the prophet, we find in a layer of understanding of the spring feast, autumn feast, from Leviticus the 23rd chapter, and also the returning of the cities of the Messiah laid waste for many centuries. That's where you get your understanding from Hebrews, then returning of the city. And also Ezekiel, very important, mentioning of the couple of sticks of authority. And then Ezekiel, the first chapter, regarding then the spiritual machine of those round circles. And also the importance of mentioning of Yeshayahu the prophet. There is a section where he was then in the spirit. He was in a temple. He saw then the mighty Creator. And then later, on the 40th and on chapters, there is a specific verse there where then you find sits on a circle of the earth. So there is a link with the first chapter of Ezekiel and also Yeshayahu. Both prophets had the same vision. So let's understand then where this goes, because at the moment we are establishing a link from the last video, audio, where then the main computer is coming up. Let's understand why and the intricacies of this special situation. Yesterday was then explained regarding then the despised one, or United States, and then their situation regarding then the future's implementation of the main computer, where then it is then authorized to do trade worldwide amongst the nations via online. Thus far we understand each nation, they have their own type of trade, and they have a specific understanding as far as computerized systems, where then companies and individuals then they do not share the same system yet. Only authorized people and studied people can go through those areas of international trade via companies. But in the future we understand an individual will to have the chance of having this system in their own home computers. For these then must have an authorization of the existing leading trade from the last 200 years of the time of the seat, and that's why the United States is yet trying to extend its time beyond 2010, but then China is then coming towards the leadership, and thus far it came out this morning that China has made links with many countries. So then we can understand the importance of China as then the main leader of this time of the end. So then, explain the computer system. There is then obviously a link on Daniel the 11th chapter, where then we understand the entire 11th chapter is related with China's leadership, and also the kingdom of the south as Congo, because of the many riches in rare material that they have. So then the only link that there is with the despised one and Congo is then technology. It's very simple. But then not only this, the dangers of the situation of the United States until the country becomes a despised one will bring a lot of unrest. So let's understand then what the nation has preparing itself for the future, because as we understand, there is the Ozarks situation, the new capital of the United States. There is the implementation of those camps or FEMA camps. There is also the division of the United States in 10 sectors. There is also the Plum Island situation regarding then the biochemical or bio warfare. And then these combined shows you that there is a situation coming where then the nation will have a transition and won't be for the best for the moment, but then we understand they will become the despised one. And when the instructions they give us specific words regarding negative tones, it is very negative. So then, with this in mind, Let's then establish a comparison with tabernacling and Gentile level as far as synchronisms. We understand the holy instructions from the Israelic lineage. They are composed with many layers of understanding of the holy instructions. You have to understand multi-layers at the same time. These multi-layers are placed in Ezekiel, the first chapter, where Ezekiel saw the machine of synchronisms. The same time, we find ourselves then regarding the Gentile level. Regarding the Gentile level, we find then a similitude of then projected situations from the time of Daniel into our time, where then the synchronisms are very similar as then Ezekiel the first chapter. Not the same, but very similar, because the events obviously are not the same. Tabernacling and Gentile level, they don't mix, but those were included during the time of the restoration period, started in 2010, prior of the starting of the autumn feast. So then we find ourselves then understanding more of what's coming in the future, because the trade is going to be computerized. The United States must start then this new technology, because they are the old trade leadership of the time of the end. These because they are extending themselves beyond 2010, yet they are trying then to have some sort of a leadership. Obviously China is going to be leading in the future, but the US must provide this computerized system so they can take their share. And their share comes later in the chapter, where then the despised one will come out of this deal very rich. The only way the US can come out with this deal very rich is via this computerized system. As we understand, Microsoft from the United States is making a deal with China in a gaming situation. But the true objective is not the gaming. It is showing the new computer coming very fastly. Not only this, but there are many other situations where you find some hints, such as Microsoft bought Nokia from Finland, and is a steady flow of the very rare mineral named then coltan. They have very steady flow of coltan via then Nokia. So then the computerized system of the future, or the new powerful computer, then can be obviously produced. And this will be worldwide. Any person in the world would want to have this computer, because a specialized system, specialized signal, where then trade is done via ultra-fast broadband, same band as used then in New Zealand and Australia, and none other than obviously those systems use those special signals that banking do trade with, so it's very fast. But then policies must be placed, such as then transfers, and then the amount of percentage each bank will have during the time of transfer of funding from the Chinese system to their own banks. From then on, then they do make their purchases, and then they receive taxes from their purchases, and these must be instantly taxed. So the computerized system obviously would have a multi-function from country to country, making deals instantly and taxes being distributed at real time. These will bring the wealth of the United States, so they can stabilize themselves as they are then heading towards a rebuilding of their own country. Prior of these, obviously, we must understand at some point the retrieving of United States forces later on. At this point, there are a couple of situations we should be very concerned with. The first is a deal of Mr. Xi and Mr. Kabila. It is absolutely important. The second is then the initiation of the construction of the new computer for the world's trade. It is important receiving the authorization of US to get this then going, because those financial institutions dealing with the trade is going to be done in the homes of people. And there will be then guidelines set up by China and many of those nations involved with the Chinese system. So it's a very important time, but we are then experiencing a preliminary idea of what's coming in the future. As far as we understand, then obviously Mr. Gates is involved with a very important project, as he was given the privilege of then introducing the system of Windows worldwide. So then this new system, you can bet on it, it is coming. Because without an authorization from US, there is no way of having these systems in people's homes. As we understand, there is then a synchronism from the time of Ezekiel, so there is a synchronism during the time of the Gentile level during this period of the restoration time. So then, let's evaluate the instructions very closely and watch China making more deals, as they did with many of the countries of the Pacific, India, and stabilizing many of the countries, Cyprus for instance, and many other countries that then Germany does not want to deal with because they are very weak. They will be linked up with China. It's absolutely true. So then, let's be very aware of these facts and study further the holy instructions, because the 10th chapter of Daniel is precisely regarding the fasting of Daniel on behalf of China, Eastern Kingdom, and the 11th chapter is the relationship of China and many of the countries of this world, mostly from East, North, and South, China, Soviet Union, and Africa, mainly Congo. Please stay tuned, much more coming up.